David Corson, Monday, June 23rd, 2025. Oh, about 10:30 Monday night. Yep, up late. Just get out of the shower, was moving stuff, unpacking, sweating. Had to go in the attic, put some things away. It was like a sauna up there. And I just had an awesome dinner. Chicken and some fresh local corn. Oh man, it was so sweet. It was awesome. You know, the other day when I went to return some of the fence boards to the supply company, it was about a 25-minute ride out in the country. Oh my God, you should have seen the cornfields. I'd never been up in that neck of the woods. And oh my God, there were just miles and miles of cornfields. It was unbelievable. You know, so you think Georgia's a peach state? Well, they grow a lot of corn here too. So, but hey, hope you had a great Monday. Great start to the week. And still got a smile on your face, positive thought. You got about an hour and a half left of this Monday. And then you got Tuesday, Wednesday, hump day, Thursday, and woohoo, Friday, TGIF, and then the weekend. And then a short 4th of July week, and then the holiday weekend. And, you know, the official start of summer has already begun. And it was 92, they say, or 93, but it was actually over 100 degrees, it felt like. It was, I don't know how hot it was in my attic, but man, I was sweating my tail off. But just a really, really busy day, and was getting things done for my contractor survey and answering some people. I had a podcast I had to reschedule, so I had to put that on Friday. And had a couple other people that wanted to get on the podcast. And man, it's just been endless. You know, better busy than not. I swear to God, I'd rather be busy than not. I'm having fun. Days are blowing by. We're still getting unpacked, and my wife's getting these the rooms together, and I'm just about unpacked in my office, so I can actually get my studio together and get my man cave going, and just a really exciting time to be alive. It's an amazing time to be alive. There's just so much going on. You know, listen, politics in the world, I can't change all that. I can't even worry about it, man. I mean, everything's at warp speed. I mean, I turn the channel, come back, and something else has happened. But I always just catch up at the end of the day. I lay in bed and I kind of just hit my YouTube guys and see what's going on. And, you know, they keep me informed. Don't watch the news because it's all fake. But in any event, you know, I'm busy working on myself, my happiness, my financial stability, you know, my mindset, trying to stay positive, have fun, smile, laugh. And, you know, it's just awesome. So, you know, hopefully you start your day off right, you know, making your bed, you know, positive action first thing in the morning, and then you finished off with a positive action to finish your day off, you know, strong with momentum. You got to do that every day. Start your day off with a positive attitude or action, and then finish your day off with a positive action. And then you can go through your night, have fun with family and friends, have a good meal, laugh, smile, unwind, and then unplug and get your rest, and then get some good REM sleep, and then boom, do it all over again. But I'm telling you, if you're consistent with doing that positive action in the morning and that taking action and on a positive note at the end of your day, and it doesn't matter if if you're not a 9-to-5er, hey, you could be, you know, like my kid, he works, the midday to the night shift. It doesn't matter where you're going. You always just want to start your day whenever you get up, whether it's in the morning or, you know, in the afternoon, like he gets up. And, you know, the bottom line is you got to take action, start something, do something positive. It just sets the tone for what you're doing, you know, how your day's going to go. And I can't stress that enough. But, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Even though this day's almost done, here's my word of the day for June 23rd, 2025 at about 10:30 at night. And that word is vintage. Yeah, vintage. You know, it's like an old car, or an old T-shirt, or old lacrosse stick, or, you know, just record albums. I can think of so many vintage things that are out there. But having vintage in your verbiage is a really cool way, because, you know, the old way of doing things and the new way of doing things, they're connected. And history always repeats itself. So if you understand about, you know, being vintage and then apply it to modern day, you know, with technology and everything else, man, you're gonna go places. I can't say it that much truer. You know, business, personal, athletics, life, sleep, whatever you're doing, Be vintage. All right. Just think about, lacrosse. I always go to lacrosse. I got my lacrosse shirt on when I was running when I started my Southern Hall Panthers club team. The bottom line is vintage is so important because someone had to go, look at retail. Look at retail. Walmart, they got thousands of stores, but they still had to start out with, their first store. Same thing with Home Depot. They're headquartered here in Atlanta. They had to start with one store. Now they got, thousands all over the country. But it's that first store, that vintage store where they actually started, they learned, and then they adapted, and they started to grow and improve and expand and so forth. Man, it's so important to get back, to your roots. And that's what I always tell my teams, when I was coaching, whether it was hockey, lacrosse, whatever it might be. You got to get back to the basics. And the basics means vintage because someone had to create those basics at some point back in history. And, keeping things simple, get back to the basics. Like lacrosse, I'll go back to lacrosse. Catching and throwing. If you can catch and throw and you work on both your hands and your weaker hand is stronger than your strong hand just by practicing and doing wall ball, you're going to be that much better of a player. Everybody can teach you the plays and run, but if you can catch and throw, that's 95% of the game. But being vintage in the way that you do things, because really lacrosse really hasn't changed much. The equipment's changed, and the equipment, the uniforms, and the way you prepare. But the bottom line is, it's still a game of statistics. It's shooting percentage, possession, gaining the face-off, don't get penalties, give it your all when you're out there. I mean, that's what vintage is all about. And, there's nothing wrong with being vintage, old school, per se, And, I'm an old school, I play for the old guys. I'm an old school lacrosse player. So I learned way back when how to play lacrosse. I picked up lacrosse like my sophomore year, 1979 in prep school. Never played before, and ended up being and I was an awesome hockey player, but I became a better lacrosse player, believe it or not. And you can teach an old dog new tricks. You can always learn something, but going back to the basics and being vintage is so important in athletics, because you can go back and look at how players prep themselves and how they got things done, and you can apply that to yourself and then add a little modern twist to it. Man, you're going to be so much more prepared than just the people that, buy the expensive sticks or, the best cleats out there and spend all this money. Listen, if you don't have the basics, if you don't have that vintage feel or that skill that was, created way back when, man, you definitely will be more prepared than they will be. It's just like, like I said, catching and throwing. It's I used to tell these parents, I said, look, my job's here to win games. But the bottom line is you have to make sure that your son or your daughter practices. And practice creates perfection. That's vintage, And you gotta practice to get better. You gotta be consistent. You gotta give it your all every day. You have to smile. You have to have fun. If you're not having fun, go do something else. You're wasting your time. All right, that's vintage. All right, and so in athletics, applying vintage and the basics of what was done when the sport was created way back when, and applying it to yourself, I'm telling you, your statistics will just skyrocket. Business, just like I said, Home Depot, Walmart, I can go on any of the brands, Hilton hotels, they all had to start out with one hotel or one retail store or one restaurant, and they had to go from there. That's what being vintage is. And look at McDonald's. They got all these stores, but they still had to start with the first one. That's vintage. And then taking that first store and expanding, improving, and so forth. But never give up your roots of how you started and why you started and when you started and what you had to do to get started. All of that stuff is vintage. And if you can get that vintage knowledge in yourself, in business, and then apply the modern day technology and software and the new way of doing things, but you still have your roots and your vintage way of doing things, man, you're going to be that much ahead of your competition. You're going to gain more market share. You're going to create more revenue, you know. And do you ever hear people, hey, you have to get back to the basics. You have to get back to the way you started. You know, it's just like, it's just so true. Getting back to your basics of vintage is so crucial to your success in business. Relationships. Hey, I was married in 1995. It's my anniversary tomorrow, all right? But I can look back when I first met my wife and what I had to do to court her and all that stuff. I still do that with her, you know, today. Hey, listen, we have good days and bad days, just like every other, you know, couple that's been married for a while. But we're soulmates. We still laugh. But I always go back to, you know, how I courted her, and we talk about it and we laugh about it. But she still expects that young person that she met, that crazy freaking dude. And I'm still, you know, a crazy wild man. But, you know, I've mellowed out. I've become more conservative and, you know, just the way that I think and so forth. But being vintage in relationships, you know, opening the door, bringing flowers, you know, writing little notes, you know, doing the things that you don't really like to do, but, you know, makes her happy, you know, there's definitely a difference between men and females, man. We're wired completely different, but there's a reason why people, you know, are attracted to one another and they stay together for a long time, because it's that vintageness between the two of you and all the history you've had between yourselves. So being vintage in relationships is so imperative, you know, to make sure that you stay together and you can, you know, live your life together. Remember, that's who you're part if you're married. All right. And I told her when I was getting married, she was already married once. I told her, hey, I'm only getting married once. I'm an old, you know, I'm not changing. 95% is negotiable, but 5% is not. And that's just certain things that I'm not going to give up. But you know what? She stayed with me for one reason. I made her laugh. I was successful. I worked my ass off. I was an athlete. I did all these things that attracted to her, you know. But as we look back, she thinks about all the cool stuff that we did. You know, that's vintage. You can't replace that, all right? And it's just not impersonal. It's just your casual communication that you have with people every day. Being vintage and being true, people are like, hey, man, that's old school. That's really cool. I never saw that. Or I haven't seen that forever, man. That is awesome that you knew about that. I'm telling you, do a little research, do a little history, and do some research and find out about, you know, vintage stuff of things that are important to you. And I'm telling you, apply it today. People will be like, wow, I haven't seen that forever. You actually still do that kind of stuff? Yeah, like I still write snail mail notes. Even with email and FaceTime and messaging, I'm telling you, you send someone a handwritten note, because a lot of people don't get mail these days. If they get something, they open it, you took the time to write it, you write a nice little note, it goes a long way, you know? And it's just so important. But being vintage, just like I said, whether it's, you know, personal or just casual communication that you have with people that you communicate with every day. Remember, you got to communicate, you got to be flexible, negotiable, you know, keep it simple. Make sure that if you're trying to get a point across, you use the least amount of words so a second grader can understand what you're doing. That's vintage, okay? And a lot of kids today, they don't know how to do that, or people that don't know how to do that. I do, and I practice it every day. Being vintage is just such a cool characteristic to have in you. And then sleep. Hey, you know what? You don't need the pills to sleep. You know, you have to work your ass off every day. By the time I'm ready to go to bed, I'm beat, all right? And I know that I have to be vintage with my body, because my body's old. I'm going to be 62 in a couple of days. The bottom line is, I know my body. My body knows me. My body knows my mind. And the bottom line is, this year I was working on getting better sleep. And the way to do it is just by working your tail off, eating properly, drinking lots of water, and just giving your all every day. So by the time that you're ready to unplug and go to bed, you're ready to, you know, get some good REM sleep. And your body, if you do that, your body's going to wake up ready to go get it every day. And it's going to perform for you every day, as long as you take care of it, as long as you're breathing. And if I forgot anything about being vintage, hey, go for it. Find out what's old, what's history was like. Go back and research it. And I'm telling you, you will find things that you never thought about using vintage. It's from the heart. Take it to the bank. Put up in your knowledge vault and put it on that shelf and use it whenever you need it. All right? And if you work on being vintage every day, every week, every month, for the remainder of the year, all the way to December 31st, you'll see a change in yourself. Your coworkers will, your teammates, your spouse, your wife, your husband, your kids, your pets. Everybody will. Your mind. You'll be able to look yourself in the mirror, man. What's different about you? People go, hey, something's changed. What? Yeah, I became vintage. I've just went back to my roots, or, the beginnings of how things were done, and I've just applied it with a modern twist. And they'll be like, wow, that is so cool. All right. So that's my thought of the day for Monday, June 23rd, 2025, vintage. And listen, go have a great rest of what's left of this, and have an awesome day tomorrow on Tuesday. And like I said, it's Wednesday, hump day, Thursday, boom, Friday, TJF, and the weekend, and you got the 4th of July short week next week. So I appreciate y'all out there. Be safe. Take action. Vintage.